It's just so difficult to listen to their stories of what it was like in captivity, the starvation, the abuse, the brutality, and to hear them describe that those are the conditions for those remaining 24 men, including that American national, Adon Alexander, who is still inside Gaza tonight. Their fates are very much resting on whatever is about to happen next. Such a difficult and crucial moment here in Israel, as again, thousands of people have taken to the streets of Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv tonight as well, demanding that still, despite this military pressure, that the Israeli government find a way to reach some sort of agreement to get those remaining hostages out. Bob, Katrina?
Wow, Zach Anders, a nearly impossible situation. Thank you so much for the update.
Yeah, very difficult. For more on this, let's bring in the Director of Policy at the U.S. Israel Education Association, E.J. Kimball. E.J., thanks for coming on.
Pleasure to be here.
Talk about the 24 remaining hostages with these airstrikes now resuming. What does this mean for them? The possibility of bringing them home, is that still viable?
So the hostages is the number one issue going on right now as far as the objectives of the Israeli government. It is one of the war aims, but it is the principal war aim right now. And what Israel has shown throughout this war is that when the pressure is put upon Hamas, that's when they come to the table, and that's when they've made a deal. So Hamas has been playing around with the world. They are master manipulators of the media, not you all, but for the media at large, for the world community. They have pretended and convinced the world that there was a famine going on in Gaza, that the people there were scrounging around for peanut shells. But the only people in Gaza who were starving were the hostages that Hamas has been holding in horrific, barbaric conditions. And this is something that, through the intensity of the attacks against Hamas and their leadership, hopefully they will now come to the table and actually have a conversation and negotiate for a ceasefire that releases the remaining hostages, both the living hostages and the bodies of those that have died because of Hamas's captivity.
A former Benjamin Netanyahu advisor and co-host of the Israel Undiplomatic podcast on JNS TV, Ruthie Blum, also joins us now. Ruthie, again, a nearly impossible situation. I'll repeat myself. I said that to our reporter, Zach Anders, where obviously the hostages are the most important right now. You want to get those 24 remaining men out. Of course, one is an American, but at the same time, Hamas has not stuck to their end of the deal. Lots of people have predicted, you may have been one of them if I recall, that you thought phase 2 would never happen, and that's what's playing out.
You're absolutely right. And actually, I think that this is a big relief, this strike, because we've spent about 3 weeks now doing nothing, not getting any hostages back and not striking. Of course, we have hit specific targets in Gaza because terrorists are running rampant and shooting at soldiers, etc., and approaching the fence, the border fence. But what was beautiful about this was that, surprisingly, it was possible to launch a surprise attack in the middle of all this. One would think nobody could be surprised anymore in the middle of this war, but here we are. Also, listen, there is no Israeli whose heart isn't broken for the hostages who were released, for the hostages who are still there. But you cannot make policy based on mother's pain. You can't. You couldn't make policy based on my pain when my son was fighting in Gaza. That's not how policy is made. And in this case, we have to take into account that Hamas will never release all the hostages just because. And if there's a deal, which Hamas, of course, doesn't want to make, the only deal it wants to make is to end the war and have Israel withdraw completely from Gaza and release another 1,000 bloodthirsty terrorists who have vowed to commit October 7th again and again. Yeah. It's an impossible situation, but we have to defeat Hamas.
All right, we're going to leave it there with those words. Ruthie Blum, E.J. Kimball, thank you. News.